Trish Moe and Jason Sledgehammer and Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Hey, Jason. Did you forget what you're going to say?
Oh, I thought you was going up, Shawnee Nicasio.
No.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy Radio on Torture Tuesday.
Torture Tuesday? Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Definitely Torture Tuesday. Tonight we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. And, we're going to talk about some investigations, some haunted locations, and we have a special guest. We're going to talk about the Octagon house that's located in Wythville, Virginia tonight, that Sean and I with Pittsburgh Paranormal Society actually went and investigated last year, and it turned out to be a great experience. So go ahead, Sean. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay, Jason. As you can tell, everybody out there, that Trish is no longer with the show. She's on Monday nights. What's it called?
The Missing Piece.
The Missing Piece with Trish Moe. She's on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Central Time. But I'm doing okay. Kind of like disgusted with the weather here because
it's terrible.
Like snow, then it's 70, then it's 40. I figured it out today when I woke up. It's like 39 degrees out. Come noon time, it was like 50. 5 o'clock this afternoon, it was 70. And tonight it's going down into the late 40s. And I'm like, geez.
Well, thank you, Weatherman Sean. We appreciate that update.
Hey, you're welcome, buddy. Oh, you're welcome. What's going on with you, dude?
Oh, not too much. Looking forward to some future investigations we have lined up with the Hinsdale house specifically. I'm really excited for that. There's some new gear I've been looking at, and hopefully we'll be acquiring pretty soon to help further our investigations.
Yes. What are you getting?
Well, I was interested in looking at that tripwire. It's kind of like an EMF detector, but you could spread it over an area of 12. One of them is 12 feet, and I believe the other one is about 36 feet. Okay. So you can cover large areas. That way, if something crosses its path, it goes off just like a K2 and lights up with however strong it is, just to see, if something's coming down a hallway or whatever. The REM pod's awesome, but if we could take it a step further,
right,
and have another piece of equipment, that would be amazing.
I was, when we were down in Ohio at the Buxton Inn, the Ohio Ghost crew, they were down there with us, and they had one of those, and they laid it on the floor, and I was wondering, if we could get two of them, instead of lay one on the floor and have another one dangling, you know what I mean? So the spirit walks through.
Yeah, I've actually seen other groups do stuff like that, where they'll put it in a doorway, or on like a tombstone, or if they're investigating a cemetery or different areas, and then that way, if something crosses its path, it's easier to know.
Yeah, and then you can have a camera set up on them and just say, "Hey, everybody, look."
Yeah, right. There is one cool piece of equipment that I've seen that I'd really like to get my hands on. It's the paranormal music box. And it's motion detected, and it plays a creepy tune when it senses motion. I've seen it on a couple TV shows recently, and I was like, that's definitely on my to-do list as soon as I get some extra cash, because the stuff adds up quickly, as we all know.
well, you know what? That we all know that you travel out of state to do some work. When you go to the places out of state, do you ever look for or try to find out any haunted locations out there?
Always. That's always on the back of my mind, and I wish I had more time while I was away for, some of these trips to maybe take tours or talk to some people, but I'm very limited with how, with job sites and stuff like that.
Right.
But I do keep in mind of different areas or penitentiaries or whatever's out where I'm at, and take note of it for, the future for the group.
I think at one time that was it out in Philly? You worked like near the Eastern Penn.
Yeah, yeah, that's only a few blocks away, and I was hoping to have time for a tour, but the job ran over a couple hours, so unfortunately I didn't get to take one, or else I would have. But
Hmm.
I think I was only 10 minutes away from it, so that was a bummer. I was so excited. I was like, ah, come on, let's get this job done, and
Right.
yeah, we ran over. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the way I look at it. If we're supposed to go there, we'll get there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but speaking of haunted places, our guest tonight, he is like the owner of the 1870 Octagon Mansion down in Wythville, Virginia. And like Jason explained earlier, PPF, me and Jason and Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, we did investigate. So I'd like to welcome everybody, John Cushman, and
John, welcome to the show.
well, welcome to the show.
Uh
No, we
oh,
can't hear you.
John, are you on mute?
We can't hear you, John.
Oh, he just
No.
muted himself. Unmuted. Oh, the gremlins have arrived.
Torture Tuesday.
Every Torture Tuesday.
Joe, can you hear us?
I don't know what's going on down there. He says, can't hear you. I wonder if
Oh,
Joe could fix that.
yeah, his wife is telling him, "Hey, come on, John." So, while John gets settled in, what did you think of the Octagon House here, Jason?
I thought it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to, we were there last April and we did the overnight, and the sheer amount of Civil War era um, memorabilia that they have is superbly fascinating. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you just go there for that, and if you don't find anything paranormal wise, just to look at all the memorabilia that John's collected over the years and how he has it all set up is just a whole, another realm in its own.
Oh my
But that,
God, yeah.
but being that the mansion's right there on the, what was the battlefield way back, there's a lot of history with that too. Wasn't there like cemeteries or something with unmarked graves? Like, I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying. I don't know, but I know that there was a battle in Whiteville. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
and from what I understand, was that everybody that lived in the town of Whiteville, they all had guns. You know, the Confederate Army gave everybody a gun with one shot in it, and when the Union cavalry came through the town, they all the people that lived there, fired upon um, the Union cavalry and really did a number on them. But as the years went by and the Union Army came back through Whiteville, they destroyed the town. So
right.
it's like, but what I liked, I enjoyed it. I mean, I really did. What fascinated me about the place was that big dining area.
Yeah, with the dinner with the ghost events that they
Yeah,
have, that was really cool.
and the stuff he had set up, the way he set up that dinner was like really really cool. Um,
Yeah, with
yeah,
the REM pods at each area of the table. He had what he had the GS. I believe it was the GS1 laser grid watching the main chair,
yeah.
and we'd see stuff. Remember, we were watching that, and there was, it looked like two spirits were almost battling on the screen.
Oh, yeah,
John,
yeah. Okay, we
John's
got
going
met.
to sign out and come back in.
Yeah, that's the Octagon Mansion at 585 is John's wife. Um,
Yeah,
and she said that we have never had anyone to not experience paranormal activity. But I tell you what, the coolest place for me was the front porch. You remember the front porch?
of course I remember the front porch.
Okay, so me and Val were on the side of the porch, and we started. I turned on my K2 meter, and I started to say how bad the Confederate Army was and stuff like that. And honest to God, no wires, no nothing. And that K2 is going off, man. I'm like, to me, that was a hell of an experience that we had.
I think the best part was I still laugh about it a little bit is when we had the REM pods in the living room with the statue heads of was it George Washington and Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln, yeah.
Yeah, their statue heads on the fireplace, and we had the REM pod sit next to it.
Yeah.
And one of us was like, "Is Abraham Lincoln here?" And we all started laughing, but then the REM pod went off.
Yeah, I know.
So
Now, my question is to you, though. Think about it. Was it Abraham Lincoln, or could it have been one of the spirits that were actually in the house that were manipulating that REM pod? Because there is no way in hell that anybody could have manipulated that except for the spirit.
Yeah, I personally think it might have been just any spirit that was there, maybe messing with us because we're laughing, having a good time. And, there was no negative energy there at all. So I believe it was just good spirits just letting us know they were there. John, you're back.
John, you back?
How about now?
Perfect.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back, John.
Yeah, that's how we roll, I think.
The floor is yours, buddy.
Must be you guys.
Yeah, got it. No, dude, it's Torture Tuesday here, buddy. There ain't a week that goes by
that something doesn't go wrong.
Something doesn't go wrong is right. So, John, you have the floor. Tell us about the 1870 Octagon Mansion and the history.
Well, first of all, how can you guys buy any equipment at gas pricing nowadays?
It's not easy.
No, it isn't. It isn't easy at all, dude.
That's incredible. The Octagon, we're actually on our first anniversary coming up of being open. We've been working on it. You guys have been in it. We've been working on it for 2 years now. Just getting to the point. And like I said earlier, it's gone a long way. 90% of the interior is done. You guys would be shocked. You were out there last year. The amount of work that we've done, especially to the upstairs. The upstairs, I don't know if it was done when you guys were there.
No, I remember it was under construction.
It's done.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It's you guys would be stunned. The master bedroom with chandelier, and there isn't a square foot of that wall that doesn't have artifacts in all the rooms. So it's a little bit different. I think you guys will be very surprised next time you come out. Our whole goal right now is to get the exterior back to what it was when it was built.
Okay.
The roof is 152 years old. So try to imagine.
Oh
my goodness.
Your house, 152-year-old roof.
Are you going to try to keep the roof at 152, or do you have to seriously make repairs?
We're having some professionals come out and look at it. What they might have to do. It's only metal sheeting. It's incredible that there's no wood or any supports underneath it. It's just all metal sheeting. After 152 years, guess what's happening to that metal?
It's finally deteriorating.
Oh, please. It just, oh my God, it's just incredible. But the Octagon, people ask me, well, how did you get this? Or, how did you find this? What did you do? Back in 2017, I did a charity walk for diabetes from Washington, D.C. to San Diego.
Whoa.
Jeez.
And went through wythville. Well, let's back that up a little. 1977. I know some of us were around in 1977. I did a walk for Jerry Lewis for NDA. From New York to San Diego, set a world record, raised $160,000, and did the walk in 49 days. Now picture that in mind.
Oh my God.
Between 58 and 63 miles a day, 18 hours a day as a 21-year-old.
Wow.
So in 2017, I got a phone call from a good friend of mine saying, and he's laughing. He goes, "It's your 40th anniversary. It's time to lace them up again." I said, "Are you out of your mind? 61. You want to do what? You know, you've already lived a good portion of your life. You know, kids are all raised and out. 7 kids are out, you know." And he said, "You don't need to do it for something important. You need to lace them up again." I said, give me a week to think about it, and I got to talk to some people. And he's with iHeartRadio, so the marketing would be basically taken care of. You know what I mean? From state to state.
Yeah.
So I talked myself into it. I don't know how, but he had everything prearranged. We had people to market. My sister put a whole video thing together, and guess what? Labor Day. I even hate to say it. Labor Day 2017, I left the Washington Monument for San Diego.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I did it for diabetes. Why did I do it for diabetes? My son's been a type 1 diabetic, since he was 7 years old. Now you got to picture that, giving yourself shots as a 7-year-old every day, testing your blood every day. So there was a good reason to do it. Not that doing it for diabetes wasn't a good enough reason. So
It's just like an extra incentive.
Oh, it was. And there's more to that incentive. There's a lot of things to that incentive. And I'll tell you that incentive right now to get us through. During the course of the walk, somebody came forward and donated a pancreas and a kidney. And at 42 years old, he was cured during that walk.
Wow.
If nothing else, guys, at 42 years old, he was diabetes free.
That's
Awesome.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
I remember you talking about that when we came down. That's it.
Somebody was paying attention. Somebody was paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did I find the mansion? Walking through Wythville was on the course of where I was walking from. Back in 77, I could walk on the main freeways. And that's how we planned this walk, to walk on the freeways. We found out pretty quickly, leaving Washington, D.C., I can't walk on a main freeway. So we took Highway 11. You guys are familiar with that. Down through Virginia into Tennessee. So during the course of that, I passed by the mansion. And it had a for sale sign on it, and it looked like hell. It
Uh-oh. Did we lose him, Sean?
Yeah, he's on.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
John, come back. Come back, John.
Yeah, John. John, please come back. Come back, bud.
And I said, no, you're not. I'll be back.
Okay.
He's back. There he goes again. Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Must have a bad signal down there, I guess.
Must be, or else I don't know if it's raining down there or not. I don't know.
No, I think it's supposed to be nice out.
But speaking of diabetes, oh, you're back? Okay. You back, John?
He's back and then he's
gone. Wow. It must be. Hey, I mean, it has to be Tuesdays, man.
It's something about the Tuesdays.
Has to be.
That's why we call it Torture Tuesday, because I don't think we have yet to have a show go perfectly smooth with no complications.
None. No, we haven't. Not yet.
You know,
And
whether it's complications trying to get everything set up and just get on, or stuff like this happens during, or the weather knocks the internets out.
oh yeah, that's what happened last week. Everybody, the internet. The weather was so bad here that we lost some of our internet out here, and we couldn't get on. But around 10 o'clock, around 11 o'clock last week, I was able to get on my show. And I had my brother on.
I saw that. Well, I'm not sure if John's going to come back or not.
I hope he does. I really do hope he does. So I don't know. I just want to get this off of my chest.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And it's about paranormal unity, okay? And
all right, what's on your mind? What's on your mind?
I am going to tell you. And,
I'm ready. Let me hear.
And ladies and gentlemen, if I raise my voice, you get a little angry.
If you raise your voice, it's going to hurt my ears. So don't do that.
Holly says it's the spirits.
It might be.
Maybe. Who knows?
It may be. They might be, blocking his signal because they don't want to be told about it. Who knows?
Exactly. I believe, Holly, everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences. When you've been in the business this long, everything happens for a reason.
How long have you been in the business?
31 years, maybe. You keep reminding me every other week. But no, when I want to talk about paranormal unity, so I'm on Facebook a lot, and then I'm also on, go on TikTok. And there's a bunch of people on there, other paranormal groups that are getting, their noses, stuck up in the air from other groups. They don't want to help any group side. It's like they are the best, and it's like totally egotistical on their part. And that's not what this is all about, folks. It isn't. What it is about is for groups to help other groups. I mean, I will tell you this, that my group, mine and Jason's, Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, we're good, okay? But we never, ever, ever turn another group down if they need help. So for you guys to have the gall to stick your noses at other groups who are asking for help, give them help. You're not special. What's the biggest thing in the world? What are you going to get? What are you going to get? The best picture? You're going to have the best video, the best audio. I mean, we have some decent video. We have decent audio. We got decent pictures. But you know what? We don't brag about it. We don't brag about it. We're well known out there in the paranormal field, in the community. So get off your freaking high horses and start helping everybody. I mean, think about it. You got to remember one time, you at one time were that person who was just starting to ghost hunt and be a paranormal investigator. Okay? So really sit back, relax, and open your eyes and help people. And I'm telling you, it's not about individual groups, okay? It's about helping people and just finding the answers. And that's my rant, Jason. I had to get that
better?
Oh, yeah.
You feel better now?
What do you think about paranormal unity, Jason?
I believe it's a good thing because there's so much out there that we don't know as humans. So much in the ghost world that we just don't know, we don't understand. And the more we work together to share evidence and share stories, the better we can put puzzles together and figure stuff out. Like you said, when it comes to helping people, say we go to a place and the people that own it were like, okay, we had this other group in, and here's what they were able to get, and then we could contact that group and kind of compare evidence and maybe try and help put closure to what's going on. So right. I believe unity is a good thing. there are a lot of groups on Facebook and stuff that are all about that. Paranormal, groups and chats and whatever. People talk about their equipment, people share evidence, and I haven't seen any negative comments in most of these, which is good. So it seems to me like it's starting to get better, I guess you could say, because more people are starting to work together and talk about their experiences with other places. Like, for example, I forget what group it was. They were posting something about the Hillview Manor, about the creeper that they saw. So I messaged them privately, and I was like, hey, I was there a couple years ago, and we witnessed the same thing. And, they shot me a message back, and we were just comparing what we saw, and it was just cool to network like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it should be, and rather than get a cold shoulder or, it is what it is. You can't win everything.
Right.
You can't, but just do the best you can, just help people out, and just all get along and work together just to get more evidence and answers.
No, that was cool. Like the last weekend we were down at the Buxton, we had like a close to 48 people there that were staying there to do it. Yeah, there was a lot. And they had the Ohio Ghost crew there. They helped out. And there was another paranormal group there, husband and wife. I want to say Emerald or Gem Paranormal. But they were from down there in Glanville, and they helped out too, and it worked out perfect. So that's when I say paranormal unity. I mean, we weren't sitting around and saying we're the better group than your group, and and this and that, and causing riots and stuff like that. No, what we did was send the link to the Octagon Mansion. Joe, do you see that?
Does he see it? I don't know.
All right, hold on. I'm going to send a link to that. All right, hold on.
Send a link to that.
Right.
Hurry up.
Hey, easy, Batman. Go ahead. You can talk now.
So I think maybe you should stay off of TikTok so you won't have to see all this negativity or whatever you're talking about. Isn't Facebook enough?
Well, I don't know. I see more people in the paranormal field on TikTok than I do see on Facebook.
Yeah, I've actually never gone on TikTok, so
it really isn't that bad. I enjoy it. Okay, I got to get this link to him. All right. Oh wow, bear with me, young man. Bear with me.
I'm trying.
Okay. All right. So, what else have you been up to, Joe? Joe. Okay.
Not much, man. I'm just, like I said, I'm looking at a lot of different equipment to hopefully get here in the near future. But like John said, how can you afford any equipment with these gas prices? And he's speaking the truth with that one.
Right.
Because like I said, the equipment's not cheap. There are places have better prices than others. Oh, there is one thing I want to talk about equipment-wise.
Okay.
So, a lot of people know what the Ovulus is, right? It's the box that produces words based off of signals or spirits can manipulate it. So I saw something very interesting about this. There's I won't say what websites or anything, but there's obviously multiple, just a plethora of ghost equipment websites, and one of them had a whole thing about the Ovulus, that they were not going to sell it, they were not going to stock it, and they weren't going to continue selling it. I was like, well, that's interesting. So they had a long message on it, and basically what they broke it down to is they were saying that there's too many people that interpretate not correctly, or it's easy to make words fit a situation that you're thinking about. You know what I mean, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely.
When a word comes up, they're like, oh, well, it must mean this or it must mean that. And they were just saying that that's a lot of money for a piece of equipment that, you could do with your cell phone essentially with free apps. It's basically the same thing.
Right.
I was like, that makes a lot of sense because I was actually looking to get one at some point, and I was always on the fence about it because it's like, does it really work? Sometimes it seems like it does,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the fact, is it actually working, or is that our brains, making it work for our situation?
So you know what I see, to me with the Ovilus, I'm like on the fence with that, like you were just talking about, because um, there's already like 1,000 words in there.
Right.
And so, see, to me, it's programmed, because I remember one time, a long time ago when it first came out, somebody actually, did the Ovilus, and then they wrote down the words that came out, and it actually formed a sentence that didn't understand why that sentence was said on the Ovilus.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but they were talking about, here's a list of other equipment you may want to look into, such as laser grids, EMF meters, stuff that you'll get more accurate responses out of.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who believe the same thing about the spirit box.
Right.
There's a lot of folks believe that it's just essentially a broken, hacked radio. What they're getting through is radio signals or radio stations, whatever. But what I did through a lot of experimentation was, asking specific questions and getting intelligent answers over
Right.
a multitude of channels, not just one of them.
Right.
So I think I've mentioned before what did it for me, because I got the S box, and at first I was like, okay, this is cool, but is it really giving me the answers I need? Until one time a relative's voice came through that I was trying to communicate with,
Mm-hmm.
and there was 3 or 4 of us that knew exactly who it was. So
Right.
that right then and there told me that it can be reliable. You just got to learn how to differentiate or use the Faraday wallet pouch to block radio signals and everything.
Well,
But
when we were up at the Kinsman house up there in Ohio, we used it. It worked out perfect up there.
well, you know what? That was an interesting investigation because let me think. I'm trying to think of how long I had it. That was the place that I got the first hit on my REM pod.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, because I had it for a couple months and I wasn't getting anything on it at all, and to the point that I thought maybe I got a bum unit and I had to send it back or something. But it was the Kinsman's house in the master suite where we asked the spirit if they were there, if they could sit down on the bed where the REM pod was, and no sooner did we say that, it hit for the first time.
Right.
So remember how exciting that was.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm always excited when that thing hits, because to me that's a tough piece of equipment for a spirit to manipulate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that too. There are some things that can mess with it, in case nobody knows or curious. Obviously, cell phones. Like if you
Right.
get a phone call or text message, it could possibly set it off. And the biggest factor is walkie-talkies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Even if you're not in the same room as that thing, if you're room over or whatever, and you have other investigators throughout the building, if you just hit your button on your walkie-talkie, it could potentially, I'm not saying it will, and I'm not
Right.
saying it won't, it could potentially set the REM pod off and give you false readings.
Why do you think that? I mean,
It's the radio signals, I guess.
the radio signal.
Just like anything else, you get the FCC, whatever, it may cause interference with, these devices. Or there was a guy I knew, every time a jet plane flew over his house, his garage would open.
Right.
The garage door went off. So it's just all electromagnetics and radio frequencies. So it's understandable how it can do that.
Yeah, I just well, you know me. To me, I'm simple. I like a K2 meter and an EVP recorder. But tell our viewers and listeners out there, dude, on some of the equipment that you got.
Oh my gosh. We'll be here for a couple days if I go over it all. Well, the first thing, as if anybody's a beginner, is you want to look into a K2 meter. That's an excellent piece of equipment. It's fairly cheap. I think they're like $69, somewhere around there, maybe $80. But the biggest problem with K2s is you have to find one made in the United States. Because if you get knockoffs, for $20-$30, you can find them on different websites. Half the time, they just give you false signals. We've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's been plenty of investigations where a couple people had, the cheap knockoffs, and they're like, "Oh, look, we're getting all this, this, and this," and then you bring the other one in, and there's absolutely nothing. So I believe the quality. Obviously, you want to get a better quality, but a K2 meter and actually a handheld recorder. The one that I use is the Zoom H1. My original one, I've had it for, probably about 15 years. And I've got some of the best EVPs I've ever got with that thing. You've heard that, like the no voice and all the other crazy stuff I've caught with it.
Right,
But
right.
But the new ones, I actually picked up a second one, a new one. They have a lot more cool features in there with high and low shelf cutoffs, and you could do all kinds of different stuff. You could play back, cut and paste, and it's really cool. And I think they're around like $100 or so. But if you're getting started, those are probably the two best pieces to start with, and then start building from there. And from there is where you want to get into the cameras. You got to figure out, okay, do you want night vision cameras? Do you want camcorders? Do you want a DSLR? Do you want full spectrum? The biggest thing I can say is everybody just to do their research to see what exactly they want to start with, what's in their budget range. Because obviously, like John said, how can you afford equipment with these gas prices?
Right.
But over time, I've acquired, inexpensive night vision cameras, which work okay. Excuse me. And then over time, I've also upgraded to Panasonic, the VX981s. If anybody's listening that's curious, those are really good, especially in night vision. But you need to pair them with an external IR light because the light that's in it is just not enough on its own. So I use Tech. He builds some top quality infrared lights, full spectrum lights. So I have a few of his. Then you can also find some really budget-friendly ones on Amazon, and for about $25 a piece, that are excellent rechargeable IR lights for your cameras. If you want to go DSLR, try and look for a full spectrum, so that way, you see the whole light spectrum from UV all the way up to infrared and everything in between. Because believe it or not, that's probably where I get a lot of my photo evidence is with the full spectrum camera more than anything else.
That is a sweet setup you got there.
Between all that stuff, the S box, and you want, if you have surveillance, those are good cameras to set up. You could get the set that I use is actually from Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Why not? Why not, dude?
Get them on sale. I tried it once. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to see if they work, and I actually caught a couple spirits with them.
Yeah, you did.
I caught one in the woods at my house, and then I believe it was the Kinsman house?
Yeah.
The child spirit. And John's back.
Yeah, John's back, buddy.
See? Now you can hear me, maybe?
Yeah, we can hear you real well.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, John, thank you.
Not going to let you guys down. I don't know what happened.
It's
the ghost. It's Torture Tuesday, dude.
It's Torture Tuesday.
It's Torture Tuesday.
It is Torture Tuesday.
Yes.
I went and switched devices, so.
Okay. So back to what you were saying about how you got the mansion.
Got the mansion, some history about it for people that are listening that have no clue what it is or where it is or anything about it.
Well, let's talk about, first of all, the mansion is in Wythville, New Jersey. Can you believe that? Wythville, Virginia. There's only one Wythville, by the way.
So is it said Wythville or Whitesville?
With.
Because I always thought it was Whitesville.
That's what I thought so too.
So I said it wrong.
You guys are from Pennsylvania. I mean, what do you want? So, built, let's talk about the years. Right after the war, 1866, the property was purchased. 1870, construction began on the octagon. The octagon was sold in 1874, uncompleted, to the Reverend D.A. Snow. And you remember the church, his church was right next door. That white church was right next door to the octagon.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
He didn't have very far to walk, just there. He completed the octagon. And in 1890, the wings were added on. So it was completed. People have lived in that house since about since 1990. So it's had a lot of people. And like I said, it's 152 years old. I did an investigation because nobody's ever can you imagine? Nobody's ever investigated that place. There it sat. I mean, all mysterious. I mean, if you guys drove by, you'd have some questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what is that about? And being an octagon mansion, there's I'd say less than 70 of these left in the nation.
Isn't there another one down in Virginia too?
No. Well, there's three actually. There's mine. There is one in Marion, which is falling down.
Oh.
And the most famous one, Thomas Jefferson's home. So I guess I'm in good company.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. In fact, I invited him to come see it.
I'm sure he might.
We'll see if that happens.
Yes.
Did you call him up?
Yeah. I'll wait for the doorbell to ring on that one.
Why didn't you just get excited if all of a sudden it just rang?
Yeah.
Hey, Cush, or he called me on the cell phone. Hey, Cush, you invited me, right? Yeah, I did. Come on out. So, yeah, really. That would be incredible. Anyway, so that's basically its history. So I took the previous owners in there. There was nothing in there, no lights, nothing, and the building basically falling down. I took a card table and 3 chairs. We went into that, what we call the dining room now, where the dinner with the ghost is set up in there, and had all the equipment. And I'd say within 15, 20 minutes, a little girl approached. We estimate maybe 12 years old. All she wanted to know, have I seen her mommy?
Wow.
And that was kind of the okay. That was the okay moment. Everything's good. And, the rest is kind of history on that. Of course, the owners were, the former owners were just shocked. And I had some of the guys from the team doing other parts of the house that night, and they were down in the basement area, and they were just getting, nonstop. It's got to be amazing when you walk into a place like this that has never been investigated, to the point of whoever you're trying to talk to is saying, well, wait a minute.
Who are you?
There's ghosts in my house. Because, I believe they see us like we see them. We're both ghosts. A guy like the Reverend who built that home, his blood's in the home. It's not like today where you go out and buy a house and you keep it for a couple of years. And you see something great down the street. Oh, I want that. You move out. He built this thing by hand. He didn't have Sears and Roebuck. This took time. It took patience. His life was in and out of there with the church. And he's standing there wondering who is talking to him Or
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
It is. You know,
it
you got a picture in your mind. Last people lived in that house 1990, and we're dealing with maybe 1874, maybe. You know, where the house is done, and we're talking to probably several people in that place, and they're all scratching their head. Who is this? Who's talking to us? And from that point on, we have groups coming from all over the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any idea who some of the other spirits may be, like soldiers or just people that may have been there?
Well, you talked about what happened in Wythville. 1863, you had Gettysburg. 1863, you had Vicksburg. 1863, you had Wythville. And you had a battle just finishing off over the mountain in Saltville. And they sent the cavalry to Wythville to destroy the lead mines, the salt mines, and of course the railroad, because the railroad brought everything to everybody. 188 of them come over the mountain. Little, young girl, 20-year-old gal, saw them coming, did the Paul Revere thing, and took off for 41 miles to warn the town. Excuse me. She got to the town to find out there were just maybe 100 soldiers there, 100 Confederate soldiers there. Not enough to protect the town. They took every woman and child and armed them, put them up in the center of town in the buildings. And here comes the soldiers down Main Street in front of basically what would have been in front of the mansion, downtown, and those women and children slaughtered all but 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Now, could you imagine being a child? I can't even imagine that. Being a kid, being handed a weapon, obviously it's life or death, but
a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to get the 3-second lesson on how to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's crazy, John, about Wythville? There were times we weren't investigating, like during the daytime, and I just, walked through Wythville, and I'll tell you what, it gave me an eerie feeling.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
You can have, okay, so here's the outcome of that battle. The Union was so disturbed over it, guess what they did? And you guys talked about it. They sent 5,000 troops in 65 to decimate the town. The salt mines, the lead mines, the railroad, and, parts of the town, I'm sure. And that has to leave a mark to all the people in that town going through it again.
Mm-hmm.
Your woman and child, and that has to play on everything, especially when they came back.
Right.
There's a lot of feelings in that town, and we've had groups come in dressed as Union and Confederate and walk through that house. We had one group that went into, you remember the small basement?
Yeah.
Went into the small basement and played like they were spies. It kind of backfired on there because they didn't expect to find a Confederate soldier down there wounded. Upset, bayoneted, he went through the whole routine. He wanted to get a message to his wife. He had those 3 crying when they got out of there.
Wow.
That's how heavy it was. They couldn't believe what they went through. So
do they have any type of ceremony or not a celebration, but some type of, help me think of a word, Jason, for the town?
Remembrance?
Remembrance,
reenactments, or
yes. No, and people don't necessarily, it's like Gettysburg. Lincoln went and spoke, and years later, his speech that he didn't think, for 138 words, I believe, didn't mean anything. It went down in history. And now look at Gettysburg. It's, We've done Gettysburg so many times. It's incredible. You
Mm-hmm.
walk into Gettysburg, you talk about feeling it here in Wythville.
Yeah.
You just, it's 25 square miles of battlefield that every square foot has blood on it.
Right. Now, see, it's really crazy. I've been going to Gettysburg for a long time, and I don't know. It just feels like that I'm home when I walk. When I first see the first monument when I'm driving in, it's like
you're home.
I'm home.
Bottom line, I've been going there 40 years.
Wow.
I was a reenactor there for 25 years.
Oh man, I was there for the first time last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Inn at Her Ridge. It's the stronghold of the Confederacy. It's up near the college.
Okay. Would that be Seminary Hill?
Yes, a bed and breakfast up there.
Right.
Stronghold, like I said, for the Confederacy. And we were doing the bed and breakfast for a number of years up there. And, doing dinner with the ghosts there. And incredible. You don't need equipment. They come to the table.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Union soldier come to the table. And, of course, we had the equipment set up, but, we knew somebody was there. He made his presence known. He talked about how upset he was. He was emotionally distraught because he fought the battle that day. And I'm breaking it down. This took quite a while to get out of him. He was upset because when he was shooting across the line, he looked up, and across the line, he saw his father and his brother he was shooting at.
Oh, wow.
That's got to play a lot on your emotions. He went further to talk about, how he wanted to apologize, and he's been trying to apologize. He went on to tell us he did not die in Gettysburg. He died in Maryland. He was killed in Maryland. But, never got to say sorry to his father, his brother. But you can imagine looking across the line and your gun's aimed at the two of them. It threw him. It threw him. So the same applies to Wythville. You're, a woman, a mother, a girlfriend, and all the children, young children. Everybody had a gun. And You're up in these buildings shooting down. I'm sure you were instructed just aim best as possible and shoot. And these were manual loaded guns. This is no automatic anything.
Right.
How much time did you even learn to shoot? My gut feeling is the children probably helped load the guns and kept transferring them to the mother. And to shoot and kill when you've never done that before has to weigh on your life for the rest of your life. And are they walking around town? Are these soldiers walking around town? Are the people in 1865 walking around? Yes.
Right. Oh, yeah. I honestly God felt them when I went down into the town. There's that one street that you have down in Wythville that's really, really intense.
Now, you're talking Main Street or?
Main Street, I think it was. I don't know. It's just like
that's right in front of the mansion.
Wow.
It goes right downtown. I mean, you get down to the center of town. Nobody's bothered to go down there and do a session of any kind.
Well, we're going, Jason, right?
Yeah, we'll be the first.
We'll be the first, dude.
But isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patience is everything.
Oh, absolutely.
And to be down there, even in the middle of the night, there's no cars, no nothing. It is silent.
Nice.
That'd be really cool. But my question to you would be, if me and Jason and PPS decided to go into the town to investigate, I know the authorities, would we have problems with you?
They know what we're doing.
Oh, they do? Okay.
We have groups. We are booked. Last year we were booked every weekend.
Wow.
And you guys were one of them.
Yeah.
This year we're booked pretty much. June and July is completely booked.
Cool.
So, John, when you do this dinner with a ghost,
yeah.
how exactly does that work, and what what was the best experiences that maybe you had there with a group of people or paranormal groups while you were having your event?
Dinner with a Ghost was created by me about 18 years ago. I created it back in Goldfield, which you guys should be familiar with, Nevada. Goldfield, Nevada is where Ghost Adventures got their start.
Yeah.
Zach Bagans.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I created it just out of the blue. Let me tell you. I was on vacation. I was with my son traveling, looking like you guys go out and look at locations. I went up to Goldfield and started driving through the town. Now, Goldfield's history is it was our nation's largest gold strike at that time. Largest. So you're talking roughly 1905. 1905, 50,000 people living there. There was no Las Vegas. Central Nevada, 50,000 people, 1905. You talk about tent city, you talk about buildings, you talk about bars. I mean, it was massive. 1923, a liquor still blew up in the middle of town.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Winds were blowing at 80 miles an hour. The town was gone in 2 hours. They tried to put, fire department couldn't put it out. The bars went outside with their kegs and tried to put out the fires. They couldn't catch it. So out of that town, there was only 11 buildings left when it was done. 11. And when I drove into that town back in the 90s, there was this man on his hands and knees filling in the cracks of the high school. Now you got to picture this. It was October. Goldfield's higher than Denver, so it was a little cold. And here's this man on his hands and knees filling in cement into the cracks of the high school. And I got out of the car, went up to see him. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I am winterizing, trying to save these buildings." These buildings were not built on foundations. They were built on dirt. The high school is massive. If you ever pull it up, you'll see it. It's a big high school. And here's this guy on his hands and knees. He stood up, wiped the cement off his hand, shook my hand, and introduced himself. He was the commissioner of Esmeralda County. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Here's this important guy.
And he's out there on his hands and knees with cement and the
freezing to death, trying to save this building. To find out he's been trying to do this for a number of years. I said, "Look, what about government grants?" He said, "We've used them all throughout the years. There are no more." I said, "Look, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks with something to help you. My background was marketing, food. I know my history, obviously. I'm going to come up with a program to draw people here, and I'm going to come up with a way to bring them here." 2 weeks later, I'm back with Dinner with a Ghost, explaining this to him. How to draw people from Vegas, 3 hours away, Reno, 5 hours away. How are you going to get people to come to a town with 11 buildings in it? Other than you're saying you're trying to save these buildings, which that was the whole idea, starting with the high school. You know, some paranormal groups try to come, but they weren't allowed into the hotel that Zach did. Nobody was allowed anywhere. So I explained about Dinner with a Ghost. It was a way to draw people in. Yes, it was paranormal, but it was a 4-course dinner. Chef prepared. I had a chef. And it was a way to draw people in. Guys like us, history people, and they came. Oh,
yeah, get like a mash of everybody.
7 years.
For everybody.
7 years I was helping them.
Nice.
7. Until the point of getting out and taking Dinner with a Ghost across the United States.
And then you ended up back in the mansion doing it from the Octagon house.
You know, it was to help save historic places throughout the nation. That's what it was designed for.
Right.
There we sat, 25 people, but you sit right in the midst of it. The high school was incredible. Incredible. You got a picture. Yes, Zach Bagans did some of the investigating there at the hotel. But the town, we talk about Gettysburg, we talk about Wythville. You walk into that place after everything that has happened there, and you got to think about that when you start looking for your places. What is the history? Tap on the history. Relive the history. So when we're in Wythville, guess what we talk about? We talk about the history.
The history, yeah. Now, on this dinner that you have, this 4-course dinner, is there a set menu or do you change it up?
Set menu. It's been the same set menu now for almost 20 years, basically.
So how often do you do that?
Right now, we're doing it once a month. Now, believe it or not, and we find it hard to believe, COVID came around, and we had 50 events throughout the nation. 50.
Wow.
Jeez.
The Bullock at Deadwood, Gettysburg. I mean, you name it. We were going. Everyone got canceled because of COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
So we decided to take that time and head to Wythville and get it completed. And that's basically where we are now. Do we do any outside? We've been doing Gettysburg up to last year. We've been there 4 years doing that, leaving Wythville and going somewhere else for, a week. Civil War week. What a better time to...
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this at your mansion, with all the spirit activity that you have there, has anything really happened while people were having supper? Anything go flying? Or
you got to remember, dinner with a ghost. You're doing the investigation at the table.
Yeah.
The table is, I don't know if it was set up when you were there.
Yeah, it was. The table was.
So the table's up. As you know, we have a separate spirit table also.
Yeah.
And what we find out throughout these, let's say, 3 years of doing dinner with a ghost there, our guest is the Reverend, seems like every time. He makes his presence known. He loves his bourbon, by the way, guys. He loves his bourbon.
Yeah, don't you put a bottle out for him?
We pour it for him.
You pour it for him, okay.
Now, one of the devices that it's funny how to think outside the box, and I know you guys think outside the box also, especially when you go and buy equipment at non-ghost stores. You're trying to come up with something different. Our biggest piece of equipment that I learned in Gettysburg, and we don't necessarily call it what it is, it's a doorbell, wireless. We put the trigger on the ghost table. I teach them how to use it. We don't call it a doorbell, I call it a communicator. And I walk around the room with it, showing the guests, and I stand at the table every time to explain to him. You must think I'm a total idiot, thinking, you told me this, you told me this, you told me that. But I let him know, I let the guests know. If he has a complaint, if he has a yes or no question, anything. And after all these years of using it, and he uses it, he knows what I'm going to ask, and he's already ringing it. Yeah,
Okay.
So
I've seen that happen before, yeah.
Yeah, I had to get to the point where I've changed everything. In fact, he doesn't like salad. He didn't have salad back then. He had, meat and potato people. So after the soup, we put the salad down on the table, and our chef, which is my wife, by the way, stopped serving the salad. And we realized that's a mistake because he complains about it. He creates a scene about it. So we start doing it again.
Okay.
Putting that, and he's complaining about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean.
He doesn't want it on the table.
John, I do have a question from one of our listeners.
Absolutely.
Did anyone, this is from Holly, And she asked, did anyone ever feel like they got possessed there at the octagon?
You know, it's really, really cool that it is. I'm going to say there's nothing to fear there. It you think of all the groups in there. Like this weekend, we're booked. Next weekend, we're booked. Groups come in, and then I spend about an hour to hour and a half the next morning. I bring them breakfast, and we sit and discuss it all. The stuff is incredible. Yes, we hear a lot of the same things, which is great. The little girl approaches them, Audrey, some of the groups, asking if they've seen her mother.
Interesting.
The Reverend makes his presence known. There's a lot of things that make their presence known. Like you guys, I've been in it a long time, and to me, it's incredible. It's incredible.
So when you have all these...
no possessions.
Okay, no possessions. That's good.
Yeah.
But when you have all these investigations and investigators coming in every week, something we've encountered in the past with the location we went to a couple times was they noticed a fluctuation in activity. Like one weekend, it was full on, super active, all kinds of stuff going on. Then the next weekend was almost like a recharge for the spirits. Do you guys have that, or is it just kind of solid all the time?
I agree with you. There's nobody's ever been disappointed, and I'm not saying just to say nobody's disappointed. Sometimes you do get a lot more, and we know that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get a little less, but these groups are fascinated. You're sleeping there, 8,800 square feet. It has a history. All groups approach differently. You have your very professional groups like you guys. You have medium type groups that, then you have groups that just got together. Then you have rookie groups, which are always great because, I love it when they come in and the first question out of their mouth is always, is there anybody here tonight?
Yeah.
It seems to be that way. You need to approach as if you know everything. Your history. You get, I'm going to say play role. Or role play, excuse me. Play role.
Play role. Well, yeah. John, check this out, right? Now, definitely you got the little girl ghost down there and you got Pastor. What other ghosts do you have hanging out in there?
We realize in the basement and in the 50s kitchen upstairs, they're very possessive of, let's just say probably the servants at that time, when you had something to take care of, like the house, like dinner, like your position in that house, they don't like the fact that people are roaming that. We don't call it a basement because it's a kitchen. It's a dirt floor kitchen. They don't like the interruptions. They don't like people down there. Throughout the house, you go into the little girl's room. They don't want men in there. So you get activity there letting you know they don't want the men in there.
Right.
You got a picture. You're going up in the Reverend's house at 2 a.m. to their children's room. You're gonna get some emotion with that, and they do. Is there more than you got 152 years of people dealing with that house, at least through the 90s. Different families. When we talk about it, we talk about, Civil War times. What about 1960?
Yeah.
We had a group in there. In fact, he was the very first person. I don't know if you know Connor Biddle.
No.
Paranormal Encounters out of South Carolina.
No.
I've known Connor a long time. In fact, he was with our group at the time we did Goldfield. And then he went on to do his own thing. Ran into him again and invited him up to investigate. He came up. Nothing in the building. So there was not a thing in the building. That's how, knew it was. He got in there. It's 2 days worth. 2 days of investigating. First day, REM pod in the dining room. They had a doll. They did this. They did that. A lot of activity. In fact, we were coming out of the dining room into that main room that we'll call it the living room. That first room you go into from the front door. And the smell of pot was massive.
Huh.
You could choke to death on it. And both of them started to freak out. They thought somebody was in the house. Well, they ran out the front door, down to the street, and wanted me to get somebody in there to find out whoever's in the house. So I had, let's say, a pretty big friend of mine come in, go through the entire house, and there was nobody. Nobody. And they only smelled it in that one room.
Why do you think?
I know what I think. I had talked to the former owners about it. What was the house like in the 60s? Well, the house was broken up into several apartments. In the 60s, and smoking and this and that. So when we went back into the house, the smell was gone. So explain that. There wasn't an ounce of it.
So I wanted to ask you, with all the wartime memorabilia that you have all through the house, which is amazing, do you feel that there's any spirits attached to any items that you have by chance? Because you have so much of it.
You haven't seen it all.
I'm sure. I believe we have it.
It is so cool. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers, please got to go down there. If you're not into ghosts, you got to just check out the stuff he has from the Civil War. It's
amazing. Very amazing.
Very amazing.
But do you think that there's any spirits attached to anything that you have?
Well, let's talk about that. You have Facebook. Your viewers have Facebook.
Yep.
Every item on the wall. The Reverend knew these people. He knew Lee. He knew who they were. He knew Stonewall, Lincoln, all these people. That is his Facebook. So when you're traveling around that museum trying to do an investigation, guess what? It's a lot of things to refer to. When you talk about the war, you just point. You just point and speak and talk about these people. To have that many trigger objects in one building, and yes, I believe some of this. It's a 60-year collection. I've been collecting since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
My mother looked at me at 5 years old and said, "You don't have to collect baseball cards." And she handed me an item, an antique. Said, "This is what you need to collect. Start a small collection." Well, she was right some ways. I did sneak the baseball cards.
Of course.
But I've amassed a massive private collection. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Let's just say it's triple what you saw so far.
Wow.
And we're not done.
Oh,
we were there today. We were there today doing more stuff. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And, it's a museum. That's what it was designed for. It just happened to fall into all of our bucket, as far as being a place to investigate.
Hang on one second, John. For this second hour, Chasing Prophecy, we would like to thank Carnation for sponsoring our second hour of the show.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Carnation.
Thank you, Carnation.
We appreciate it.
Go ahead, John.
John, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
I got a question because this has been on my mind since we were there. Me and Sean were talking about it a little bit when you were having some difficulties coming on. So when we were investigating, you had the statues of, I believe it was George Washington and Abraham Lincoln on the fireplace mantle.
Yes.
So we had the REM pod sitting up there. And jokingly, we were trying to find out, one of us asked, is Abraham Lincoln here? And we started laughing like, this is, Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah,
and
sure.
the REM pod hit because we had it near his statue, and it hit. Do you think that was just a spirit messing with us, or do you think that there's
Well,
some possibility?
Possibilities are always, that's what we're in.
Right.
Could have been the Reverend. Yes, he is here. He's sitting on the mantle in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
In
yeah,
spirit.
yeah,
In
yeah.
spirit.
Okay.
See, I believe, John, that if you go into a place, if you treat the spirits with respect, they're going to
Yes.
respect you back. And I do believe the pastor liked us because
Yes.
we really got some pretty cool stuff off them rip pods, especially in your dining room where we had, you had all those little gadgets around the silverware and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
And for the
You know-
listeners too, if anybody's kind of curious what it's like to investigate the Octagon House, if you go to Pittsburgh Paranormal Society on Facebook under the videos section, we actually made a video from our investigation there last year. It's about 10 or 11 minutes long. It kind of goes over all the evidence we got. So check it out, then go head down there and investigate it and find out for yourself too.
What you guys need to do is Dinner with a Ghost.
Yeah.
Now listen to me. From Dinner with the Ghost, from enjoying that to doing a investigation that night, and then the next night, the building's on fire. You got the energy level up, and it just it's incredible. But for you to experience Dinner with a Ghost, 18 to 20 years of Dinner with a Ghost, it always improves. I look at the first Dinner with a Ghost, and I'm not laughing at myself. It has improved. The technicalities of it all has improved. The way we do things, the questions we ask, what we put on the table, what we serve is incredible. And it draws it in. People ask, well, can they sense the dinner? Well, they get served the dinner. They get served the dinner, obviously, because the Reverend doesn't like salad.
Well, I can tell you this, John. Between me and Sean, you got a couple hungry guys here, so
yes.
it would be pretty.
So you'd have to set 3 plates for me and him.
Let me tell you
something. Mostly for him.
Let's just say the dessert that Deb customizes and makes, you're going to see spirits. You walk into the mansion for the Dinner with a Ghost event. We have a reception, champagne reception. You take your champagne and you walk around the museum. Can you imagine walking around the museum for an hour? And like I said, cool. It's pretty much done now. So you really get something for an hour. You see what it's like with the lights on. You guys know that. Yeah. You see what it's like. You walk around. You see what's on the walls. You see where you're going, because in the dark, it all changes.
Absolutely.
It all changes. So then you're brought in and sat at the Dinner with a Ghost table. And that's where the investigation starts, right at that table.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys want, when you can, come and co-host that with me.
That'd be cool, huh?
Oh, that'd be all. Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Hey, guys, it's a whole different ball game. I've had other groups host, and it's just like we have a group coming in Saturday night, gonna co-host, and it's very exciting because when the electricity is up, things happen. You got all that energy.
Oh, hell,
you guys know that. You guys know that. Get a lot of energy. If there's a bummer in the room, and we get the table involved, ask the questions. The equipment's all there. Ask the questions.
Right.
And do things happen? Yes. Maybe sometimes more than most, but man, it's like the Reverend is involved. I'll give you a quick story here. We were working on the mansion, and a group was coming in that night to investigate, and they asked if Deb could make them beans and cornbread. It wasn't a Dinner with a Ghost night. It's just a group coming in to investigate an overnight. And they're good friends of ours. And Deb said yes. So during the day, she's cooking this stuff. Why the museum was open. You can remember the museum's open too. And the equipment in the dining room's going off on the ghost table. I walked in there and said, Reverend, there is no dinner with a ghost tonight. Cut it out. He knew that we were cooking. Trigger. So we know now when we're cooking in that building, he thinks something's going to happen.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
3 years of being there. Oh, by the way, guys, when I was painting the place, I would, I got the stereo. Come on, stereo. Blasting.
Of course.
Aerosmith. Dude looks like a lady. Does not like it.
No, well, hell, he's a pastor, so he wouldn't like that kind of music.
That's right. I put that on. I was blaring it so the walls were shaky. He went and shut it off.
Ooh. But just think of
so now next time we come down, we're definitely going to have to play some Aerosmith.
Dude looks like a lady.
You know what?
He does not like it.
You don't like that? We should play some death metal too.
Oh, jeez.
He did not like it. In fact, Audrey, we're playing the stereo normally for, the museum. And, a group comes in, we have to shut it down now. She'll go and try to turn it back on. We have it on video. I'm trying to teach her how to press play. She'll press the button to turn on the stereo. And she's done it in front of other groups. Deb happened to be sitting there one night while we're giving a tour, right? Deb does the downstairs, I do the upstairs. So when I was going upstairs, she's turning it on, and Deb just happened to be sitting there. Deb turned on a recorder on her phone and started recording. She was doing it on command.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
But can't get her to reach down and press play. Which would be totally...
I wonder why.
Totally cool. Well, it depends. Depending on the year she's from, this has to be fascinating.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Okay, picture the Reverend. Has to be fascinating. One of the things we're trying right now in the library, which he seems to hang out in, we're doing sermons. Get Billy Graham on there. Speak his language. See what he thinks about it. You could set it all up, have the recording going, have a camera in there, leave the room, and see what kind of response. So a couple groups have got responses. Get a good fiery sermon in there and speaking, the gospel of God and things that he understands, he portrays. But that's something that, that goes back to that role play, but using somebody else to role play.
Now, I do have a question for you, John.
Yes.
Now, some of our viewers and listeners, and a lot of people who really do not understand the paranormal, a lot of people think that it could be evil, or like a lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to go there because I don't want to get hurt. They're going to hurt me, or they're going to follow me home. Has anything like that ever happened down at the mansion?
Let's talk about that a bit. No, first of all, no. Second of all, I was raised a Catholic right through high school. Catholic high school. The priests, the nuns, you get the whole package. And throughout that time, I believed probably most of it. But as I got into the paranormal, my thoughts changed a little bit. I believe hell is what you live in.
Yeah.
Life and death, have tragedy, good stuff, bad stuff. And your heaven is the greatest moment in your life. And that's where you're going to spend. That's your heaven. People are there because they want to be there. The Reverend's there. He built the place. That was his greatest moment. His church across the street, his greatest moment. But it also goes to tragedy. Civil War soldiers. People that are, I'm not going to say necessarily stuck, maybe lost, maybe wondering. I mean, when you die in your sleep, do you know you're dead? Think about
So
that.
here's something interesting to think about. It just came across my mind is, okay, so the Octagon House is, you said, like 152 years old.
Yes.
So we have multiple years of spirits. We got the Reverend, possibly
Yes.
soldiers, little girl, anybody else that could be there coming through portals. Have we ever thought, like, do spirits see the other spirits from other years, or are they on completely
Yeah.
separate dimensions themselves?
Good question there, dude.
I think that's always a good question.
Mhm.
Like,
I think
that's
all,
something that we'll never get, but
but you
to
have
think about that. No.
I think that when we have done, or when I've sat down with other groups, you know, the way they talk about it, most of it's more history than current.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the rooms, you know, if you remember the master bedroom upstairs,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, it was empty, but there was a sitting room right next to it.
Right.
I have put all World War One, World War Two, the Titanic, Pearl Harbor history in there. So it's a whole different ball game to try to pull, you know, history went on. Tragedy happened at all these places. In fact, I got a call in 1970 from a friend of mine. He had his grandfather died, and he was up in the attic cleaning it out. And there was a trunk, and in that trunk was a old Brownie camera full of film. He wanted to know if he could take it to Walmart, and they would develop this film. I said, "Don't do that. I'll give you a name of a guy in Wisconsin. I'll give you his address. Box it up. Don't touch anything. Box it up and send it to him. But here's what I want out of it. I want the first pictures out of it. You promised me that." And he did. And he did. I got the pictures. Brace yourself. His grandfather's view of Pearl Harbor as it happened.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
Nobody's ever seen these pictures. So when you're in the mansion, you're you know, they haven't been seen outside in public. They've always been seen in the mansion. Some of the pictures, the Arizona being hit, at the time the Arizona was being hit. It is incredible pictures, but that is tragedy. You know, anybody that had been in Pearl Harbor, guess what? They see this stuff. Why didn't he do them? Who knows? You know, war was terrible. He went home, couldn't wait to shed his stuff and throw it in the trunk. How did the film survive? Well, it was in a camera. The film's great. Wait till you see it. Perfect pictures.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to coming back there for sure.
You know, I got the news. It's the original newspapers are on the wall from World War I all the way up. You know, Nixon, Reagan, Barack, the Titanic, World War I, Pearl Harbor, the original newspapers, Titanic original newspaper. It gives a whole different view in that room. So people have gone in that room and they don't get what they get in the rest of the house. They're not sure what they're getting, but they're getting.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit different.
Hey, John, it's
Yeah.
getting close for us to close up shop here. I want to thank you very much for coming on
absolutely.
at a short notice. And would you like to tell our viewers and listeners on how they can get more information about the Octagon House?
Well, it's the first of all, it's the Octagon Mansion.
Sorry.
No. Come on. See, if you say Octagon House, you go to Kentucky.
Okay. Okay.
Or Marion. You can go to Marion too in Virginia.
So if you want to tell everybody your Facebook or website.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, dinnerwithaghost.com. You can't forget that. Dinnerwithaghost.com.
Simple
That
enough.
gets you right. Oh, please. You know, when I first developed that, I make sure that I had it trademarked and everything else. So it's mine. It's my McDonald's, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The mansion is let's see, what's the best one to use?
The Octagon Mansion at 585.
The Octagon Mansion at 585
Okay.
on Facebook.
Okay.
And people can contact you through there as far as booking and tours
Oh
and
yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think, like you guys,
Oh, we'll
you're not gonna
definitely
be
be
dis-
down again.
just give Deb a call and or give us a call, and we'll you say August, we'll put you in August, but I want you to reserve a date, and we'll figure it all out from then. We'll tell you when we're doing Dinner with a Ghost, and you need to come co-host.
Okay, definitely.
We'll work it all
you.
out. We'll work
That'll
it
be
all
a
Thank you,
good
out.
time.
buddy.
Yeah, we appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
And tell your wife thank you too. I
Yeah.
forgot
Thank
her
you.
name, Deb.
Deb,
All right, John, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight and telling us about the
Pleasure.
Octagon Mansion, and we'll be talking to you soon.
thank you guys.
All right,
Sean,
have a good night.
pleasure.
See you. The pleasure's ours too. Good night.
Bye, my friend.
Okay, just there you
Oh, I think he's still there.
go. That's okay.
Hit the red
Well-
X.
Hit the red X. That's okay. We should explain it to our guests whenever we, get them on. That was a good show. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, hopefully our listeners got a good bit of history about the place and some of the cool stuff and that they do, and investigating and how to get a hold of them. I think it'd be really cool to do the Dinner with a Ghost.
Oh, I do too.
Get out
I
there and
mean-
co-host with that.
But you know what? We'd have to do a 2-nighter down there. That's too far of a drive.
Yeah, it'd have
Or-
to be like a weekend ordeal like we did last time.
Yeah. Hi, Kim. Thank you. I'm glad you liked the show. So what was to me, the best part of the investigation when we were down there, was when all of us were in the dining room toward the end. At
Yeah.
night, and we were all spread out and everything was just going on.
Yeah, I remember that. That was actually probably one of the focal points of that whole investigation.
Yes.
With the reverend's chair. I remember the laser grid was on there, and it was popping in and out, and the little REM pods were going off with answering questions, and all the different thuds and intelligent knocks, on command.
Right.
It was pretty impressive. It was really impressive.
We had another group with us that night too.
Yes, we did.
What was I forget. But here's what's interesting about that. They were setting up their stuff too, and they had their equipment going, and but they were deaf. And what was crazy was there were times when now all they did was do sign language with their hands.
So what when I watched you try to sign with not knowing how to sign, Sean, I'm
You
going to be
like
honest with you, that was some of the funniest stuff I've seen.
Yeah, I know. I
You
tried.
just,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
I-
What are you
I
doing?
know. How else was I going to talk? I wasn't going to write down. But I tell you what, they were with us. They were good. And what was really cool about it is they were signing. Their K2 would go off. So to me, by just watching them doing that, I do believe that you really don't need to talk when you're on an investigation, because I do believe that spirits do read your mind. What do you think, Jason?
Well, do you think they read your mind, or do you think it's just like a universal language that when you're in spirit form, there is no specific language that that you might be able to understand others? We don't know.
True. The only way, like Russ says, the only way we'll know is when we die.
Yeah.
It's the way I look at it, So it's getting close to closing time.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, about 5 more minutes. Is there anybody out there in our audience that has any questions for us? Feel free.
Yeah, feel free to drop a comment. We'll see it,
Yeah,
hopefully.
and we'll be happy to answer it for you.
So what do you think about the upcoming Hinsdale house?
Oh, Lord, I keep reading up on it. I'm real excited about it.
I know we're getting closer and closer. It's just a few months away.
Yeah, and I actually took a week's vacation
For a one-night investigation?
Oh, no, after that. Yeah, well, it's a Friday night. I think it's the 16th of September that we're going up.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, the week after the investigation, I plan on doing some traveling somewhere. I don't know. When we go away, I really don't like to come back to Pittsburgh, you know, because
Oh, yeah.
last year, when we did go to the Octagon Mansion, I was down there 3 days before y'all showed up.
Oh, okay.
And I went to North Carolina, did some gold prospecting down there, and, you know, did some gold prospecting in Virginia.
Well, you must not did too good because you're still here.
Dude, I have to go out west and live in Alaska for 6 months out of the year in order to get something like that.
Right.
But so I am looking forward to it because
You know what I want to do
what?
is I definitely want to get back to the Hillview Manor, because when we were there, that was a couple years ago. That was like before I ended up getting all the extensive equipment that I've picked up since then.
Right.
And it'd be really cool to go back there, set all the cameras up, all the meters and everything. Plus, it's been popping up a lot on paranormal shows on television.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. It's just getting everybody together. You know what I mean?
And the fun part was, I remember when we were there, it's like no matter what corner you turned, you always seem to end up back at the same spot. It was the weirdest thing ever. You get lost.
Do you know what's crazy though? I've never been there. Never been there yet.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, all the years. I just don't know. I you know, so eventually if we do go up there this year or early next year, I'm definitely going. So I'm looking forward to experience it myself, you know. But the Hinsdale House, man, that's legit.
Yeah. With as active as they say that place is, it's booked for the year solid the previous year.
Yeah, in fact, when I booked it for us, there was only 2 days left.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so we're going to be up there September 16th. If anybody wants to join us up there, you know, just come on up or leave us a message and we'll get a hold of you. You know, we can tell you what to do about that. But it is what's an hour, dude, and it's about time to close up.
All right? Yes, sir, it is.
All right, I want to thank everybody for joining in, listening to our show, and seeing it on Facebook and YouTube. Any last remarks, sir, Jason?
Yes. Thank you for joining this installment of Torture Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a good Torture Tuesday. And, you know, and Jenny will be on next week. So
yeah,
we'll have the three of us.
Yeah, we'll be back. The Three Stooges.
We love it, yeah. Hey, listen, everybody, have a good night. Happy hunting.
Good night,
See you
everybody.
later. No, we got to get Joe. This happens sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes he's busy. Keep talking, dude. Keep talking. I'll send
Keep
him
talking. He'll cut us out right in the middle of our set.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He must be eating or something.
Holly says she wishes she would have known about us when she lived in her haunted house. I'd be curious to hear about the story.
Yeah, Holly, would you like to come on our show and talk about your haunted house? She just blushed. She just blushed.
Yeah, we'll have to open the phone lines again on a future show.
Oh my God, yeah. You know, and then I plan on like when we know who we're going to have on, then you know, like go on a couple days beforehand, and you know, just do some advertising on Facebook and YouTube. Do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you don't want to come on. Come on, Hall. I mean, you're our number one favorite fan on here, Holly. You are. You should come on.
So what are we talking about next week? Are we going to talk about those strange humming noises that a lot of people are hearing on different countries?
I do believe so. I was reading.
We've been trying to talk about that for the last 2 weeks, and then it's always some kind of gremlins in the way.
Oh, I know. And you know what else? What I want to talk to is that one paranormal group down in Australia, whenever they picked up Toothpaste, Mr. Toothpaste or something.
I vaguely know what you're talking about. I've heard that before.
Yeah. Okay. Joe's here. So we're going to be signing off. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
And we'll just wait until he comes on again.